The Harris family, Tom, Sarah, and their teenage son, Alex, moved into an old, sprawling farmhouse on the edge of a quiet village. The house, known as the Crowhurst Manor, had been abandoned for years. Tom, an artist, was drawn to the picturesque, secluded location, believing it would inspire his work. Sarah, a history professor, was fascinated by the house's storied past. Alex, however, was indifferent and more concerned with being away from his friends. The house was grand, but in disrepair, with creaky floorboards, dusty rooms, and a musty smell that permeated everything. The villagers were polite but distant, often avoiding the topic of Crowhurst Manor altogether. When asked, they would merely say, "That place has seen many sorrows." Despite the villagers' ominous warnings, the Harris family was determined to make the house their home. Tom envisioned converting the old barn into his studio, while Sarah dreamed of a library filled with rare books and antiques. Alex, though initially reluctant, started exploring the expansive grounds, finding solace in the overgrown garden and the mysterious woods surrounding the property. One afternoon, while exploring the attic, Alex stumbled upon an old ornate mirror covered in a tattered cloth. The attic was cluttered with forgotten relics and dusty old furniture, but the mirror stood out. It was tall, with a gilded frame covered in intricate carvings of strange, otherworldly figures. Curiosity got the better of him, and Alex pulled off the covering, revealing the mirror's cloudy surface. He peered into the glass and felt an inexplicable chill run down his spine. His reflection seemed distant, almost like it wasn't his own. He called his parents to show them his find. Tom was fascinated by the craftsmanship, and Sarah, ever the historian, wanted to research its origins. They decided to clean the mirror and place it in the living room, believing it to be a valuable antique. However, from the moment the mirror was uncovered, strange things began to happen. It started with subtle oddities. Tom would catch glimpses of movement in the mirror, shadows that seemed to dart across the glass. Sarah felt an eerie presence when she was alone in the room, as if someone was watching her. Alex began having vivid nightmares, always involving a dark figure emerging from the mirror. One night, Sarah was working late in her study when she heard a soft whisper calling her name. She followed the sound to the living room, where she found Tom staring into the mirror, entranced. When she touched his shoulder, he snapped out of it, confused and disoriented. Neither of them could explain what had happened. The disturbances became more frequent and unsettling. Objects would move on their own, lights flickered inexplicably, and cold spots appeared throughout the house. The atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive, filled with a palpable sense of dread. As the days passed, the occurrences grew more disturbing. Alex started seeing the dark figure from his nightmares in the house, always reflected in the mirror. The figure was tall, with hollow eyes and a sinister grin, and it seemed to follow him wherever he went. One evening, Tom was working late in his studio when he heard the sound of footsteps coming from the living room. He assumed it was Sarah or Alex, but when he went to check, he found the room empty. The mirror, however, was glowing faintly, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Sarah's research into the mirror's history revealed a chilling story. The mirror had belonged to the house's original owner, a reclusive man named Alastair Crowhurst. He was rumored to have been involved in dark rituals and occult practices. Local legends spoke of a curse placed on the mirror, trapping malevolent spirits within it. One stormy night, while the family was gathered in the living room, the mirror's surface began to ripple like water. A dark figure emerged from the glass, a tall, shadowy man with hollow eyes and a sinister grin. The temperature in the room plummeted, and an overwhelming sense of fear gripped the family. The figure spoke in a deep, resonant voice. "You have freed me. Now you will all pay the price." It moved towards Alex, who was paralyzed with fear. Tom and Sarah tried to intervene, but an invisible force pushed them back. Desperate, Sarah remembered the stories of Alistair's rituals. She ran to the attic, searching frantically through old books and papers for anything that might help. She found a dusty journal containing detailed instructions for a banishment ritual. Sarah hurried back to the living room where the dark figure was now looming over Alex. She began chanting the incantation from the journal, her voice shaking. Tom joined in, repeating the words. The figure recoiled, its form flickering and distorting. As they continued, the house seemed to react violently. The lights flickered, and the walls shook. The dark figure let out an unearthly scream, lashing out at them with tendrils of shadow. The mirror began to glow with an eerie light, and the figure was gradually drawn back towards it. The ritual seemed to be working, but the dark figure fought back fiercely. It shattered the mirror into pieces, each shard reflecting its malevolent eyes. The force holding Tom and Sarah back intensified, and Alex was thrown across the room. In a desperate move, Sarah grabbed one of the mirror shards and held it up, reflecting the figure's own gaze back at it. The dark figure screamed in agony, its form breaking apart. With a final chant, the mirror shards glowed brightly, and then dimmed, the figure dissipating into nothingness. However, as the figure dissipated, it unleashed a final wave of energy. The room erupted into chaos, with furniture being tossed about and windows shattering. The family huddled together, bracing themselves against the onslaught. Just as suddenly as it had started, the chaos ceased. The house fell silent, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. The broken shards of the mirror lay scattered across the floor, now harmless. The family, shaken and exhausted, embraced one another, grateful to have survived. In the weeks following the terrifying encounter, the Harris family slowly began to heal. The house returned to a semblance of normalcy, and the strange occurrences ceased. The sense of dread that had once permeated Crowhurst Manor was gone, replaced by a newfound sense of peace. Sarah disposed of the mirror shards, burying them far from the house in the hopes of preventing any future occurrences. Tom focused on his art, channeling the trauma of their experience into his work. His paintings took on a darker, more haunting quality, but they were also filled with a sense of resilience and hope. Alex, who had been the most affected by the haunting, gradually returned to his usual self. He still had nightmares occasionally, but with the support of his parents, he began to overcome his fear. The experience had brought the family closer together, and they emerged stronger and more united. The Harris family chose to remain in Crowhurst Manor, embracing its history and the knowledge that they had triumphed over the darkness that once plagued it. The house, once a place of sorrow, became a symbol of their strength and determination. The dark secrets of the mirror were finally laid to rest, leaving the family to build a new, brighter future. If you have interesting stories and want to tell about them, send them to me by email. Link in description. Bye.